The fluorescent lights of the subway car flickered as we rattled through the tunnel beneath Manhattan. I'd been staring at the same advertisement for tax services for the past 3 stops, my mind still locked in the control room where I'd spent the last 12 hours coordinating train movements, preventing collisions, keeping millions of people moving safely through the arteries of New York City. Senior Operations Controller. Fancy title for a guy who watches screens and makes split-second decisions that nobody ever thanks you for. I was 58 years old, and every one of those years sat heavy on my shoulders tonight. The doors hissed open at 42nd Street. The usual crowd pushed in, that familiar dance of tired bodies finding space where there wasn't any. I shifted my weight, gripping the overhead bar, ready to zone out for another 10 minutes until my stop. Then I saw her. Before we continue, we ask you to hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We would like to get to know our audience better. Jenna stood near the far door, pressed against the corner, one arm wrapped protectively around Leo. My grandson's face was buried in her coat, his small body trembling. My daughter's eyes were red, swollen. She wasn't just tired, she was broken. Our eyes met across the car. Hers went wide with panic, then shame, then something worse. Fear that I'd seen her like this. I pushed through the crowd, not caring whose briefcase I knocked or whose shoe I stepped on. When I reached them, Leo looked up at me with those big brown eyes and whispered, "Grandpa." "Jenna." My voice came out rougher than I intended. "Why are you on the subway?" She wouldn't meet my eyes. "Dad, please, not here." "Where's the car? The car your mother and I spent 5 years saving for." A businessman next to us shifted uncomfortably, pretending not to listen. Jenna's hands were shaking. Leo buried his face deeper into her coat. "Darren took it," she finally whispered. "He and Patricia. They said it was legally theirs now. Dad, they used your name. They said you and Mom were threatening them, that you were unstable, that they needed protection from you." The subway car lurched as we took a curve. I didn't move, didn't blink. Just stood there processing what she'd said while rage built in my chest like steam pressure in a boiler. "Where are you staying tonight?" "With a friend from work. Dad, please don't make this worse. Darren said if you interfere, he'll make sure I never see Leo alone again. He has lawyers, he has money, he has nothing," I said quietly. "Not anymore." The train pulled into my stop. I guided Jenna and Leo off the platform, away from the crowd, into one of the quieter corridors near the maintenance access. The tiles here were older, cracked in places, but the acoustics were good. Nobody would overhear us. "Tell me everything," I said. "From the beginning." She did. The words came spilling out like water from a broken pipe. How Darren had convinced her to sign papers she thought were insurance documents. How he'd taken the car the next day, claiming it was actually purchased under his name, that her signature was just a formality. How Patricia had shown up at Jenna's workplace, spreading rumors to her coworkers that Jenna was mentally unstable after childbirth, that we were toxic influences, that the family needed to protect itself from us. "I told him before you married," I said when she finished. "I told you he wasn't right for you." "I know," her voice cracked. "I know you did." Leo tugged on my sleeve. "Grandpa, can we come home with you?" "Not tonight, buddy, but soon, I promise." I kissed the top of his head, then looked at my daughter. Really looked at her. The woman who used to laugh at my terrible jokes, who used to race me down the subway platform when she was little, who used to believe her father could fix anything. "Jenna, listen to me very carefully. Don't worry about Darren. Don't worry about Patricia. Don't worry about lawyers or money or threats." "Dad, you don't understand. They have everything documented. They'll regret it," I said simply. "All of it. I promise you that." I called Elin from the platform. She picked up on the first ring like she always did, her voice immediately alert despite the late hour. "I'm bringing someone home," I said. "We need to talk." 40 minutes later, we sat in our kitchen. Elin had made tea nobody was drinking. I'd walked Jenna through her story again, this time with Elin asking the sharp, precise questions that came from 30 years of working in a cardiology office where details meant the difference between life and recovery. "The papers you signed," Elin said. "Do you have copies?" "No. Darren said they were just temporary, that he'd give me copies later." "The car title. Was it ever transferred into your name?" "I thought so. But Darren handled everything. He works at the dealership. He said he'd take care of it." Ellen and I exchanged glances. We'd been married 33 years. Sometimes words weren't necessary. "Jenna," I said, "I need you to go back to your friend's place tonight. Tomorrow I need you to start documenting everything. Every text message, every phone call, every threat, every manipulation, every lie. Can you do that?" "Dad, I'm scared. If Darren finds out, he won't, not yet. But we need evidence. Your mother and I didn't spend 5 years saving every spare dollar so some con artist could steal from our daughter. After Jenna left with Leo, Ellen and I sat in silence for a long time. The kitchen clock ticked steadily, marking off seconds that felt like hours. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, a siren wailed in the distance, fading into the constant background noise of the city that never stopped moving. We need a lawyer, Ellen finally said. I know someone. Maya Brooks. She handled Jerome's cousin's case last year. Divorce specialist. This isn't just about divorce, Silius. No, I agreed. It's about making them pay for every single thing they've done. My phone buzzed on the table. A text from Jenna. Darren is angry you saw me. He says he'll fix the situation. I'm scared. I showed it to Elin. Her jaw tightened in that way it did when she was truly angry. Not the surface irritation of everyday annoyances, but the deep, cold fury that meant someone had crossed a line they couldn't uncross. Save that, she said. Save everything. I did. Then I opened my laptop and started making notes. Times, dates, conversations. Everything I remembered. Everything Jenna had told us. The theft of the car. The manipulation. The threats. Patricia's involvement. I created a spreadsheet organized by date and category. Evidence, witnesses, potential legal violations. Elin watched me work, then stood and placed her hand on my shoulder. Her touch was warm, grounding, familiar after more than 3 decades together. What are you planning? I'm planning, I said quietly, to teach them that you don't threaten my family. You don't steal from people who worked their whole lives for something. And you definitely don't do it thinking there won't be consequences. She squeezed my shoulder. Just promise me something. What? Promise me we do this smart. No rage, no mistakes. We take them apart piece by piece, legally, precisely, and permanently. I looked up at her. That's exactly what I'm planning. She nodded, satisfied. Good, because I've been thinking about Patricia, about the salon network she's so proud of, about how reputation matters to people like her. What about it? People talk in salons. They gossip. They spread rumors. Patricia's been using that against us. And 2 can play that game. I understood immediately. Elin worked in a cardiology office. She knew people, had contacts throughout the medical community, the business community, the social networks that kept neighborhoods connected. If Patricia wanted to spread lies, we could spread truth. We'll need to be careful, I said. We will be, but we won't be silent anymore. Sunday morning was cold and gray as I drove alone to New Jersey. Ellen stayed home with Jenna. The rental community looked like every other, identical houses with peeling paint and neglected lawns. Darren's silver sedan sat in the driveway where Jenna's car should have been. I knocked. Patricia opened the door, dressed like she was heading to a country club, her smile mechanical and insincere. Silius, what a surprise. I'm here for Darren. She tried to dismiss me, closing the door until I steadied it with my hand. Her smile flickered. Darren, you have a visitor. He appeared a moment later, polished and smug. Perfect hair, dealership-branded polo, teeth too white to be real. To what do we owe this honor? You know why I'm here? The car? Jenna signed everything, completely legal, he said, laughing. You manipulated her. She's 29. If she didn't read the paperwork, that's her fault. Personal responsibility. Patricia joined him, arms crossed. Your daughter made her own choices. She trusted her husband. She signed the forms. She chose wrong, I said. Darren's smile vanished. Leave? Now. Not until we discuss what you're returning. Returning? I didn't steal anything. Maybe you can't accept she doesn't need you. She has a real provider now, not some tunnel rat who stares at screens all day. The insult didn't move me. I just logged it away. Jenna's unstable, Patricia added softly. Postpartum issues. We're trying to help her. You're making things worse, for her and for Leo. That's a lie. Is it? Darren stepped close, bumping my shoulder. Maybe she needs protection from you. I stayed still, studying them. The clenched jaw, the fists, the son seeking his mother's approval, the mother calculating every angle. Then I saw her. Jenna stood in the hallway, small and shaking, tears streaming down her face. Our eyes met, and in that moment I realized exactly how deep their control ran, how trapped she truly was in a life she never chose. I'm going to ask you one more time, I said quietly, never breaking eye contact with Jenna. Return the car? No. Darren's voice was final, triumphant. Then we have nothing more to discuss." I turned and walked back to my vehicle. Behind me, I heard Darren call out, his voice carrying across the quiet suburban street, probably waking the neighbors. "Yeah, that's right. Run home, old man. Run back to your subway tunnels. Tell your wife you failed. Tell her you couldn't protect your daughter because you're nothing. You hear me? Nothing." I got in my car, started the engine, and drove away. In my rearview mirror, I saw him standing in the driveway, chest puffed out, arms crossed, looking victorious. Patricia stood beside him, already turning back toward the house, the matter dismissed, handled, resolved in their favor. They had no idea what was coming. The drive back to Queens took 45 minutes through sparse Sunday traffic. I spent the entire time replaying the conversation in my head, analyzing every word, every gesture, every reaction. Darren's arrogance, Patricia's calculations, Jenna's fear. All of it adding up to a picture that was worse than I'd imagined. When I got home, Ellen was waiting at the kitchen table with her laptop open. "How bad?" she asked. "Worse than we thought." I told her everything. Every word, every gesture. The way Darren had physically bumped me. The way Patricia had lied about Jenna's mental state. The way Jenna had looked standing in that hallway like a prisoner in her own home. Elin listened without interrupting, her fingers flying across her keyboard, taking notes, organizing information with the systematic precision she'd developed over decades of medical record-keeping. "We call Maya tomorrow," she said when I finished. "First thing. But tonight, I want you to write down everything you remember. Every single detail. While it's fresh." I did exactly that. Sat at the kitchen table until past midnight, documenting everything. By the time I finished, I had 4 single-spaced pages covering the entire confrontation. Before bed, I checked my phone. A text from Jenna, sent an hour ago. "Dad, I'm sorry you had to see that. Darren's really angry now. He says he's going to make things harder for everyone. Please be careful." I texted back, "Don't apologize, and don't worry. Everything's going to be fine." I didn't tell her that fine was going to require destroying the man she'd married and the woman who'd raised him. Monday morning, 8:30, I called Maya Brooks. She answered on the second ring. "Celius, I was expecting your call." "How did you know I'd call?" "Because Jerome already called me. Said you might need help with a family legal matter. He gave me the basics. Tell me the rest." Maya Brooks practiced out of a small office in Queens, the kind of place that smelled like coffee and old law books and furniture polish. She was 41, sharp-eyed, with graying hair she didn't bother to hide, and a handshake that could crack walnuts. Her office walls were covered with diplomas, bar certifications, and photographs of her shaking hands with judges and politicians. Ellen and I sat across from her desk. Between us, we'd brought 3 folders of documentation, bank statements showing our 5 years of savings, the original purchase agreement for the car, text messages from Jenna documenting Darren's threats, screenshots of Patricia's social media posts where she'd publicly called us toxic influences. "Tell me everything," Maya said, pulling out a legal pad. "Start from the beginning. Don't leave anything out." I did. Ellen filled in details I missed. We showed her the documents, the messages, the photographs of the car we'd bought. Maya listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes in handwriting so small I couldn't read it upside down. When we finished, she leaned back in her chair and studied us. Really studied us, the way a surgeon might study a patient before deciding whether to operate. "How far do you want to take this?" "All the way," I said. "Divorce?" "If that's what Jenna wants, yes." "Criminal charges?" "If they apply." "Compensation for psychological harm?" "Whatever we can get." Maya tapped her pen against her notepad, a rhythmic sound that filled the silence. Outside, traffic honked and sirens wailed, the constant soundtrack of the city. "Here's the reality," she finally said. "The car situation is tricky but winnable. If we can prove fraud in the paperwork, we can reclaim it. The divorce is straightforward, given the documentation of manipulation and threats. Custody will favor Jenna if we can demonstrate Darren's behavior pattern. Compensation is possible, but requires building a strong case that shows measurable harm." "What do you need from us?" "More evidence. Recordings if possible. Witnesses. Documentation of every threat, every manipulation, every lie. I need to know everywhere Darren is vulnerable." "His job," Elin said suddenly. "The dealership. Don't they have strict codes of conduct?" Maya's eyes lit up like she'd just found the missing piece of a puzzle. "They do. Very strict. Car dealerships operate under heavy regulation and consumer protection laws. If we can demonstrate that Darren used his position to defraud a family member, that's grounds for termination and potential legal action from his employer." "What about Patricia?" I asked. "What about her?" She's been helping him, spreading lies, threatening Jenna at her workplace. Is she liable? Maya considered this, tapping her pen faster. Potentially. If we can prove she knowingly participated in fraud or defamation, yes. But here's something interesting about people like Patricia. What's that? They're survivors. Self-preservation is hardwired into them. The moment things turn against them, the moment they see the ship sinking, they'll sacrifice anyone to save themselves, even their own children. Especially their own children if it means protecting their own reputation and avoiding legal consequences. I thought about Patricia's calculating eyes, the way she'd watched Darren and me face off, the way she'd positioned herself physically beside him but kept her emotional distance, always maintaining plausible deniability. How do we make things turn against them? Maya smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. It was the smile of a predator who'd just spotted prey. One step at a time. First, we document everything. Continue what you're doing. Every text, every call, every interaction gets recorded and saved. Second, we file for divorce on Jenna's behalf. That's the opening move that puts everything else in motion. Third, we make Darren's life very, very complicated. We hit him from multiple angles: legal pressure, professional pressure, social pressure. Fourth, we watch Patricia choose between loyalty to her son and her own self-preservation. You think she'll turn on him? I guarantee it. The question is whether we can make it happen before Darren does something that makes our case harder. People like him, when cornered, they get desperate. Desperate people make mistakes, but they can also become dangerous. Dangerous how? Threatening, sometimes physical, usually just escalating the psychological manipulation. But we need to be prepared for all possibilities. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. A notification from Jenna's number, but not a text. A voice message. I looked at Maya. Put it on speaker, she said. I did. Darren's voice filled the office, venomous and clear, each word precisely enunciated like he'd rehearsed it. Jenna, I'm done playing games with your father. Yeah, you need to make a choice right now. Either you tell him to back off completely, or I'm going to make sure you never see Leo without supervision again. I've got lawyers. Real lawyers. Not some cheap Queen's divorce specialist. I've got documentation. I can prove you're unstable. I can prove postpartum issues. I can prove your parents are toxic influences. Everyone knows it. Patricia's been telling everyone, and everyone believes it. And if your parents keep interfering, if they keep pushing, I'll make sure the courts know exactly what kind of people they are. You owe me respect. Your family owes me respect. This is your last warning. Choose wisely. The message ended. Silence filled the office for several long seconds. Maya looked at me, then at Elin, then back at her notes. She made a single notation on her legal pad, underlining it twice. Well, she said quietly, that makes things considerably easier. How so? That's textbook coercive control. Threats regarding custody, claims of mental instability, demands for compliance, all documented, all admissible. Darren just handed us a significant piece of our case. She stood up, walking to her filing cabinet. I'm going to draft divorce papers today. We'll file by end of week. In the meantime, I need Jenna to come in. I need to interview her directly, get her statement, make sure she's protected. Protected how? Restraining order, if necessary, custody arrangements that favor her, documentation of abuse, and yes, this is abuse, even if it's not physical. Psychological coercion, financial manipulation, parental alienation, it's all actionable. Ellen reached over and took my hand. What do we do in the meantime? Keep documenting. Don't engage with Darren or Patricia directly unless you're recording it, and prepare Jenna for what's coming. Because once we file these papers, things are going to get worse before they get better. The threats escalated exactly as Maya predicted. 2 days later, Jenna forwarded another message from Darren, longer, nastier, outlining how he'd destroy her in court. He'd portray her as unstable, claim we were manipulating her, and fight to take Leo entirely. Supervised visits every other weekend. That was the future he promised her. Then Patricia made her move. Ellen heard it at work. A coworker approached her that Wednesday morning, nervous and hesitant. Ellen, can we talk? In private? In the break room, the woman finally said it. My sister was at Patricia Kellner's salon yesterday. She overheard Patricia talking about Jenna, and about you and Cilius. Ellen asked, what did she say? The coworker swallowed. That Jenna's mentally ill, that postpartum issues made her irrational, that you and Cilius are manipulating her, trying to ruin her marriage because you can't accept she's an adult. Patricia was laughing about it. She said she's spreading the story through her entire salon network so everyone will know the truth about your family. She said you're a burden to society and Celius is a failed man living through his daughter. When Ellen came home that night, her anger wasn't loud. It was sharp, controlled, and dangerous. I'd seen her angry before, but not like this. This time, something had snapped into place. We need to move faster, she said, dropping her purse on the kitchen counter. What happened? She told me. Every word Patricia had said, every lie she'd spread, every character assassination she'd performed while sitting in her salon chair like a queen holding court. I'm calling Jerome, I said. For what? That car, the one Darren stole from Jenna. I'm taking it back. Is that legal? The car's registered under fraudulent paperwork. We're reclaiming stolen property. Maya said it's actionable. Maya said we could use it in court. She didn't say we could just take it. I'm not asking permission. I'm telling you what I'm going to do. Elin studied me for a long moment, then nodded. When? Soon, this week. What do you need from me? Keep gathering information, keep building the case, and keep Jenna safe while I handle this. I called Jerome. He picked up on the third ring, his voice rough with the sound of someone who'd been working under vehicles all day. Celius, what's up? I need a favor. Name it. That car I told you about, the one Darren stole from Jenna. I need you to help me get it back. Silence on the line. Then, is it legal? Completely. The car's registered under fraudulent paperwork. We're reclaiming stolen property. You sure about this? Yes. When? This week. I'll let you know the exact day. You know I'm in. The next break came when Aylin's coworker sent a video. Her sister had recorded it at Patricia's salon, just 30 seconds, filmed through a mirror to avoid being noticed. The footage was grainy, but the audio was clear. Patricia's voice oozed fake sympathy as she tore us apart. Poor Jenna. She tries, but she's not stable. Her family has serious problems. Her father, Celius Fallon, controlling, paranoid, peaked in his 20s, works in the subway like it matters, but he's nothing. A burden to society, living off taxpayers. Darren's trying to give Jenna a real life, but they won't let go. They're ruining her marriage because they can't stand her being happy. I watched it 3 times, each replay turning my anger into something sharper. This wasn't gossip. This was a coordinated smear campaign. Patricia was weaponizing her social network. This is good, Maya said when I showed her the video. Defamation, public, recorded. We can use it. How? It proves malice and intent. It shows she's actively working to damage your reputation, but more importantly, it's leverage. Leverage for what? For when everything collapses for Darren. Patricia will have to choose between protecting him or saving herself. Videos like this make sure she knows what will happen if she doesn't cooperate. What about the car? I asked. What about it? I'm taking it back, this week. Maya didn't flinch. Then do it smart. Keep it legal. Document everything. And record Darren's reaction. He will react, and that reaction will help us. For the next 2 days, I tracked Darren's routine. It was easy. He lived like a man who believed he was untouchable. Same cafe at 7:15 every morning, predictable lunch spots near the dealership, evening drives through Manhattan, always parking where people could see his leased BMW. He posted everything online, check-ins, lunch photos, sales brags. He thought he was showcasing success. He was really giving me a perfect roadmap for taking him apart. Tuesday, 11:30 a.m., Manhattan traffic rising toward its midday chaos. I sat in Jerome's tow truck 2 blocks from Darren's dealership, watching the entrance through binoculars. Elin and Maya coordinated timing over a 3-way call. He just left, Elin said, heading to that Italian place he always posts about. I relayed it to Jerome. He nodded and started the engine. You sure about this, Celius? Completely. We had done everything by the book. The car Darren drove was parked in his usual public lot, registered under fraudulent paperwork Maya had traced. Legally, it was stolen property. Reclaiming it was allowed, barely, but allowed. Jerome maneuvered through traffic like a man born to do it. We reached the lot 3 minutes ahead of schedule. The forest green Honda Accord, our car, sat in its usual corner spot, spotless, exactly as Jenna had kept it. Jerome backed up, hooked it, lifted it, and we were gone in 90 seconds. Where to? He asked. Storage facility in Queens, units already rented. 5 blocks out, my phone rang. Unknown number, then another, then another. He knows, Jerome said, grinning. Good. By the time we reached the storage unit, Darren had left 7 voicemails. I listened while Jerome locked the car inside. The messages escalated perfectly, from confusion to anger to threats, and finally outright screaming, You can't do this. That's my property. I'm calling the police. I'll have you arrested. You're finished. I'll sue you for everything. Your house, your pension. You're going to prison. I saved every voicemail, uploaded backups, preserved copies on multiple drives. At 6 p.m., Darren showed up at my building exactly as expected. Patricia stayed in their car across the street, already distancing herself. He pounded on my door loud enough for the neighbors to gather. "Open up! I know you're in there." I opened it calmly, my phone recording from my shirt pocket. "Can I help you, Darren?" His face was red, sweating, eyes wild, his facade finally cracking. "Where's my car?" "You mean Jenna's car? The one you obtained with forged documents?" "I didn't forge anything. I have legal paperwork." "Fraudulent paperwork. A lawyer and the DMV have already reviewed it." He barked an unstable laugh. "Your lawyer? With what money? You're a subway worker. You can't afford one." "I can afford everything I need, including the storage unit where your stolen property now sits. Give it back or I'm calling the police." "Go ahead," I said. "I'll wait." He stared, fists tightening, chest heaving. For a moment, he looked ready to make the mistake I hoped he'd make. But he wasn't quite stupid enough to attack me in a hallway full of witnesses. Instead, he stepped closer, lowering his voice to that dangerous whisper people use when they think they're being threatening. "You're making a huge mistake, enormous. You think you can mess with me? I'm going to destroy Jenna in court. I'm going to make sure she never sees Leo without supervision. I'm going to paint her as an unstable mother influenced by toxic, controlling parents. And you know what? I'll win, because I have money and lawyers and documentation and you have nothing. Are you done? I'm going to ruin Jenna financially. I'm going to take everything, the apartment, the furniture, every penny she has. When I'm done with her, she'll be begging me to take her back just to survive." "Interesting." I kept my voice level, almost bored. "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise. And here's another promise for you, old man. That car you stole. I forged Jenna's signature on those transfer papers. I did it right in front of my mother. She watched me do it. She knows everything. So if you try to use this against me, if you try to take me to court, I'm taking Patricia down with me. Family loyalty, right? We all sink or swim together." He turned to leave, then looked back, his face twisted with contempt. "Stay out of my life, Silius. You're just a tunnel rat who watches screens. Nobody respects you. Nobody cares about you. Your own daughter couldn't wait to get away from you. You're nothing. Less than nothing. A waste of space taking up taxpayer resources." He left. I closed the door slowly, deliberately, then pulled out my phone and stopped the recording. 23 minutes and 14 seconds of audio and video. Crystal clear. Darren admitting to forgery, threatening Jenna, threatening me, admitting Patricia's involvement, demonstrating clear malice and intent to harm. I sent it to Maya immediately with a simple message. "Recorded tonight. Full context attached." 5 minutes later, she called back. "This is enough to destroy him. Both of them." "What do we do with it?" "Nothing. Yet. We let it sit. We let Darren think he got away with his threats. Meanwhile, we file the divorce papers. We start the custody proceedings. We build the case piece by piece. And when the moment is right, when we need maximum impact, we play this recording in court and watch their entire world collapse." "When will that be?" "Soon. Very soon." Jenna moved back home the next day. She arrived Wednesday afternoon with 2 suitcases, a garbage bag full of toys for Leo, and eyes hollow with exhaustion. Ellen had prepared the guest room, the one that used to be Jenna's bedroom before she married, still decorated with remnants of her teenage years. Posters of bands she'd loved. A bookshelf full of paperbacks. A desk where she'd done her homework. "It's temporary," Jenna said, like she needed to convince herself. Like admitting it was permanent would mean admitting she'd failed. "It's permanent if you need it to be," Ellen replied firmly. "This is your home. It's always been your home." That night, after Leo was asleep in the small bed we'd set up in the corner of Jenna's room, the 3 of us sat in the living room. The television was off. The only sound was the distant rumble of the subway beneath our building, that constant vibration that had become so familiar over decades I barely noticed it anymore. I played the recording for Jenna. She listened in silence, tears streaming down her face, one hand pressed against her mouth like she was trying to hold in screams. "He said that. He actually said he forged my signature?" "Every word is documented, video and audio, time-stamped, backed up in multiple locations." "And his mother helped him?" "According to him, yes. She watched him do it. She knew it was fraud." Jenna buried her face in her hands. Her shoulders shook. Elin moved to sit beside her, wrapping an arm around her, letting her cry without trying to stop it or minimize it or make it better with empty words. "I was so stupid," Jenna finally said, her voice muffled. "So blind. How did I not see this?" You weren't stupid, Elin said firmly, fiercely. You were manipulated by someone who's very good at it. Someone who saw your kindness and your trust and your desire to see the best in people and weaponized all of it against you. That's not the same thing as being stupid. That's being human. What happens now? I exchanged glances with Elin. That wordless communication that came from 3 decades of marriage. Now we make him pay, I said. But I need to know something first. What do you want, Jenna? Really want? Not what you think you should want, not what Darren told you to want. What do you actually want for yourself and for Leo? She looked up, wiping her eyes, and when she spoke, her voice was stronger than I'd heard it in months. I want Leo safe. I want to be free of Darren. I want him to never be able to hurt us again. I want him to face consequences for what he's done. I want Patricia to stop lying about us. I want our life back. Then we file for divorce. Tomorrow. He'll fight it. He has money, lawyers. So do we. And we have something better. We have the truth, documented and recorded, and impossible to deny. The next morning, Maya filed the divorce papers. By noon, Darren had been served at his dealership. By evening, everything changed. Patricia called. Not Jenna, not me. She called Elin at work, somehow got the direct number to the cardiology office, bypassed the receptionist. We need to talk, Patricia said without introduction. Privately. Elin put her on speaker, gesturing for her coworker to listen as a witness. About what? About this divorce nonsense. This ridiculous situation you've created. Darren's very upset. He loves Jenna. He wants to work things out. He wants his family back. Then he shouldn't have manipulated her, threatened her, stolen from her family, and admitted to forging legal documents. Patricia's voice turned cold, all pretense of civility evaporating. You're twisting everything, taking things out of context. Darren made mistakes, yes, but he's trying to be a good husband and father. He provides for that family. He gives Jenna a life she could never have with your middle-class limitations. You and Celius are the ones tearing this family apart with your interference and your jealousy. We're protecting our daughter. From what? From a man who loves her? From a man who wants to give her a good life? You're both toxic influences, and everyone knows it. I've made sure of that. I've told everyone in my network, everyone in my salons, everyone who'll listen. The whole community knows what you are. Is that a threat, Patricia? It's reality. You think you can win this? You think some cheap lawyer and a subway worker's salary can compete with what we have? You're delusional, completely delusional. When this goes to court, Darren will destroy Jenna. He'll prove she's unstable. He'll prove you're controlling her. He'll take custody of Leo, and you'll be lucky to get supervised visitation. Eileen's voice stayed calm, professional, the voice she used with difficult patients who refused to follow medical advice. Patricia, I'm going to give you some advice. When this goes to court, and it will go to court, you're going to have to choose. You can stand by your son and go down with him when all his lies and fraud and manipulation come out, or you can save yourself. Think carefully about which option you prefer. She hung up. That didn't help, I said that evening when Elin told me about the call. Maybe not, but now we know where she stands, for now. 2 days later, Friday evening, Darren showed up at my workplace. I don't know how he got past security, but there he was, standing in the parking lot when my shift ended at 11 p.m., waiting by my car like some kind of ambush predator. We need to talk. I stopped walking. Around us, other workers were heading to their cars, tired and ready to go home after long shifts keeping the subway system running. I didn't want a scene, but I wasn't afraid of one either. Let him make a spectacle. Let witnesses see his instability. There's nothing to discuss. You're ruining my life. Everything I've built. Everything I've worked for. You ruined your own life when you decided to steal from my family and manipulate my daughter. He stepped closer, voice dropping to an angry hiss. You think you're smart. You think recording me was clever? None of that matters. I've got my own lawyer now. A real one from a real firm, not some Queen strip mall hack. And he says that recording is inadmissible because you didn't have my consent. Your lawyer's wrong. New York is a one-party consent state. As long as one person in the conversation knows it's being recorded, it's legal. I knew. That makes it admissible in both criminal and civil court. His face went pale in the sodium lights of the parking lot. You're lying. Check with your lawyer again. Better yet, check with mine. She'll be happy to explain the law to you. This isn't over. You're right, it's not, but it will be soon. And when it is, you'll have nothing. No wife, no car, no job, just debt and alimony payments and a ruined reputation. And the best part? You did it all to yourself. He looked like he wanted to strike me. His fists tightened, his jaw tightened. His whole body was coiled with barely controlled aggression. But we were surrounded by witnesses, cameras mounted on every light pole, security guards making rounds. He wasn't that stupid. Instead, he pulled out his phone. "I'm calling my mother. She'll fix this. She always does." He walked away, phone pressed to his ear, voice rising as he argued with Patricia. I stood there watching, filing away this new piece of information. When things got hard, Darren ran to his mother. That dependency was weakness, and weakness could be exploited. That night, Maya called with news. I contacted Darren's dealership, anonymously through a consumer protection complaint, sent them the recording of him admitting to fraud, along with documentation of the forged paperwork. They've opened an internal investigation. Will they fire him? Depends on their findings and their risk assessment, but at minimum, it'll put pressure on him. Make him panic. Panicked people make mistakes. What kind of mistakes? The kind that help us in court? The kind that destroy credibility and demonstrate unfitness for custody? I thought about Darren's face in the parking lot, the desperation behind the anger, the fear underneath the threats. He's already making them, I said. The dealership called Darren in for a disciplinary review the following Tuesday. I know because Jenna got a text from Patricia at 2:30 in the afternoon. Your father destroyed Darren's career. I hope you're happy. I hope you're proud of what your toxic family has done. Jenna showed me the message with shaking hands. I took a screenshot, saved it, added it to our growing collection of evidence. That evening, something happened that changed the entire trajectory of our case. I was monitoring social media, something Maya had taught me to do, tracking public posts that might be relevant. Darren's accounts were mostly private now, locked down after the car incident, but some of his coworkers had public profiles. I was scrolling through the dealership's Instagram when I found it. Someone had filmed Darren's blow-up at the dealership. A coworker, apparently, someone who'd had enough of his behavior. The video was shaky, shot on a phone from across the showroom floor through a potted plant that partially blocked the frame, but the audio was crystal clear. Darren screaming at his manager, calling him incompetent, throwing papers across the desk, demanding to know who had filed the complaint, threatening legal action. The manager staying calm, professional, methodically documenting everything, eventually calling security when Darren refused to leave the office, security arriving, Darren being escorted out while he shouted threats about lawyers and lawsuits and revenge, everyone in the showroom watching, customers staring, salespeople frozen in place. The video had been posted 2 hours ago, already had 400 views. Comments range from shocked to amused to supportive of the manager. I downloaded it immediately, saved multiple copies, sent it to Maya with a detailed explanation. Then I made a decision that would accelerate everything. I created a new account, completely anonymous, untraceable if you didn't know what you were doing. I posted the video of Jerome's tow truck legally reclaiming Jenna's car. I included a careful, factual caption explaining the situation without naming names directly, but providing enough details that anyone local would understand. A car purchased by parents for their daughter, a son-in-law who manipulated paperwork and forged signatures, a legal reclamation of stolen property. Watch what happens when someone who's used to getting away with everything suddenly faces consequences. I mentioned the dealership's name. I mentioned their code of ethics that promised integrity and honest dealing. I noted that one of their salesmen was currently under investigation for fraud against his own family. Then I shared it in local community groups, neighborhood forums, consumer protection pages. Within 6 hours, it had 8,000 views. Within 12 hours, local news sites had picked it up, reaching out for comment. Within 24 hours, the dealership issued a statement on their website and social media. We take allegations of employee misconduct extremely seriously and are conducting a thorough internal investigation. The individual in question has been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of our review. We apologize to our customers and community for any concern this matter may have caused. Darren called Jenna 17 times that day. She didn't answer. She'd blocked his number on Maya's advice, but he called from other phones. From Patricia's phone, from numbers she didn't recognize. On the 18th call, he left a voicemail on my phone instead. This is your fault. All of it. Yours and your precious daughter's. You've destroyed everything. My job, my reputation, my marriage. I'm going to make you pay for this. Both of you. You have no idea what's coming. I saved it. Sent it to Maya. Added it to our evidence file, which had grown to include over 200 documents, recordings, and pieces of correspondence. That night, Patricia called again. Not Elin this time. Not Jenna. She called me directly at 9 p.m., her voice shaking with something between rage and fear. You need to stop this. Right now. Stop what? You know exactly what. The videos, the posts, the investigation at his work. Darren made mistakes, yes, but he doesn't deserve to lose everything. He deserves exactly this. He earned it. He's my son. and Jenna's my daughter. The difference is, your son chose to lie, steal, manipulate, and threaten. My daughter chose to trust the wrong person. Those aren't equivalent. Silence on the line. I could hear her breathing, fast and shallow. Then, if you continue down this path, I'll testify against you in court. I'll say you're harassing us, stalking us. I'll say you're mentally unstable. I'll say you're dangerous. I'll say whatever I need to say to protect my son. Will you also testify that you helped him forge documents? More silence, longer this time. Darren told me what he said in that recording, about you helping him, about you watching him forge Jenna's signature, about you knowing everything. You're an accessory to fraud, Patricia. You realize that? Her breathing got faster, more panicked. He was lying. He was angry, trying to protect himself, trying to sound tough. Maybe, but it's on tape. Recorded, time-stamped, backed up in multiple secure locations. And if this goes to trial, a jury will hear it. They'll hear your son explicitly state that you helped him commit fraud against his own wife. What do you think happens to you then? What happens to your salons, your reputation, your carefully constructed image? You wouldn't dare. Try me. Keep spreading lies about my family. Keep helping your son threaten my daughter. Keep thinking you're untouchable. And watch what happens. I hung up. 3 days later, Friday afternoon, Maya called with news that would change everything. Patricia's lawyer reached out. She wants to make a deal. What kind of deal? She's willing to testify about Darren's manipulation of the paperwork, about his lies regarding Jenna's mental state, about his threats and his pattern of controlling behavior, about everything she knows. In exchange, we agree not to pursue charges against her for her role in the fraud. She's turning on him. Exactly as I predicted, she's choosing self-preservation over loyalty. When people like Patricia see the ship sinking, they don't go down with it. They push everyone else overboard and grab the lifeboat. What do you recommend? Take the deal. Her testimony will be devastating, absolutely devastating. A mother testifying against her own son about his fraud and manipulation. A jury will find that incredibly credible. And it sends a message to Darren that he's completely alone now. Even his own mother won't stand by him. What about justice? She helped him. Sometimes justice means being strategic. We can destroy Darren completely and let Patricia walk away damaged but functional, or we can try to punish them both and risk losing some of our leverage. I recommend the former. I thought about it. Thought about Patricia's calculating eyes, her social media posts, her lies about Jenna and our family, the damage she'd done. On one condition, I said. What's that? She doesn't just testify. She publicly retracts every lie she spread. Every salon, every client, every person she told that Jenna was unstable or that we were toxic, she tells them all the truth, in writing, with her signature. Maya was quiet for a moment. Then she laughed, short and sharp. I'll add it to the terms. She won't like it, but she'll do it, because the alternative is criminal charges and losing everything. Then we have a deal. That weekend, Patricia signed the agreement. Maya sent me a copy. Watching her signature on the document, seeing her agree to betray her own son to save herself, I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not satisfaction, exactly. More like recognition. Recognition that some people would sacrifice anyone to protect themselves. That family ties weren't always stronger than anything else. That when pushed to the edge, people showed their true nature. Darren found out Monday morning. I know because at 7 a.m. he showed up at our building again, pounding on the door, screaming loud enough to wake the entire floor. You turned my mother against me, my own mother. What did you do? What did you threaten her with? I didn't open the door, just called the police and waited. They arrived in 8 minutes, removed Darren from the building, issued him a citation for disturbing the peace, took statements from the neighbors who'd been awakened. That citation would look very bad in court. Just one more piece of evidence demonstrating instability and poor judgment. The divorce proceedings moved forward with bureaucratic efficiency. Discovery, depositions, motions, counter-motions. The slow grinding machinery of the legal system processing the collapse of a marriage. Darren hired a lawyer, a man named Gordon Reese, who practiced out of a glass tower office in Midtown and charged $400 an hour. Reese filed aggressive motions claiming Jenna was unstable, claiming we were controlling her, claiming Darren was the victim of a conspiracy to destroy him out of jealousy and spite. Maya dismantled every claim methodically. She had the recordings, the documents, the witness statements, Patricia's testimony, which she'd provided in a detailed deposition that spelled out exactly how Darren had manipulated the car paperwork, how he'd forged Jenna's signature, how he'd threatened her, how he'd lied about her mental state. Reading Patricia's testimony was fascinating. She threw her son completely under the bus. protecting herself at every turn, painting herself as a concerned mother-in-law who'd tried to guide her son but had been horrified to discover the extent of his deception. She claimed she'd only learned about the forged signature after the fact. She claimed she'd advised him to return the car. She claimed she'd been trying to help Jenna the whole time. All lies, of course, but lies that served our purposes. Lies that made Darren look even worse. The custody evaluation came back strongly in Jenna's favor. The evaluator noted Darren's pattern of manipulation, his recorded threats, his instability at work, his inability to control his temper. She recommended primary custody for Jenna with supervised visitation for Darren until he could demonstrate stable behavior. Darren's response was to show up at Jenna's work. He waited outside the office building where she'd found a new job as an administrative assistant, cornering her in the parking garage as she left for the day. Jenna called me immediately, voice shaking. "Dad, Darren's here. He's following me. I'm scared." "Stay in your car. Lock the doors. I'm calling the police. He's saying he just wants to talk. He's saying if I just listen to him, we could work this out. He's saying you're manipulating me, that you're controlling me, that I need to think for myself. Don't engage with him. Don't respond. Just stay locked in your car until police arrive." They arrived in 6 minutes. Security from the building arrived in 3. Darren was escorted off the property. Another citation, another piece of evidence. That night, Maya filed for a restraining order. The judge granted it within 24 hours. Darren was ordered to stay at least 500 feet from Jenna, from our home, from her workplace. He violated it 3 days later. Showed up at Leo's daycare, claiming he had a right to see his son. The daycare, which had been briefed on the situation, refused to release Leo and called the police. Darren was arrested for violating the restraining order. He spent the night in jail, was released the next morning with a court date and a warning that any further violations would result in extended jail time. Patricia called Elin that afternoon. "You need to stop this. Please. He's falling apart. He's my son. Whatever he's done, he's still my son." "You testified against him," Elin said, her voice cold. "Because you forced me to. Because you threatened me. We gave you a choice. You chose to save yourself. That's not our fault." "He's talking about doing something desperate. I don't know what exactly, but he's not stable. He's not thinking clearly." "Then maybe you should have raised him better." Ellen hung up, but the call worried us both. Maya took it seriously, too. "People who are cornered become dangerous," she said when we told her. "We need to be prepared for anything." "What does that mean?" "It means you watch your backs. It means Jenna doesn't go anywhere alone. It means we accelerate the timeline and get this resolved before Darren does something that makes everything worse." The dealership terminated Darren's employment the following week. They sent a formal letter citing the internal investigation's findings of fraud, violation of customer trust, and conduct unbecoming an employee. They noted that his behavior had damaged the dealership's reputation and violated their code of ethics. Darren posted a long, rambling statement on social media claiming he'd been fired unjustly, claiming his ex-wife's family had conspired against him, claiming he was the victim of a coordinated attack. The post was incoherent, paranoid, full of accusations and threats. His friends started distancing themselves. Former coworkers unfriended him. His social network, which he'd cultivated so carefully, began to collapse. Patricia posted her retraction the same week, as agreed in her deal with Maya. She posted it to every social media platform, sent it to every client in her salon network, made it public and undeniable. I need to correct some statements I previously made regarding Jenna Fallon and her family. I was mistaken in my characterizations. Jenna is a devoted mother and stable individual. Her parents, Silius and Elin Fallon, are supportive and caring. I apologize for any harm my previous statements may have caused. Reading it, knowing she'd been forced to write it, knowing she hated every word, brought me a cold satisfaction. The court date approached. Maya prepared our case with meticulous attention to detail. Every recording, every document, every witness statement, Patricia's testimony, the custody evaluation, the police reports from Darren's violations, the evidence of his terminated employment. "This is as strong a case as I've ever built," she told us the week before the hearing. "Unless Darren has something we don't know about, something that completely changes the narrative, we're going to win. Decisively." What could he have? Nothing legitimate. But desperate people sometimes fabricate evidence, make false accusations. We need to be ready for anything. The night before the court date, I couldn't sleep. I sat in the living room watching the city lights through our window, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. 5 years of saving, one decision by Jenna to trust the wrong person, months of manipulation and threats, the slow, methodical process of building a case and watching someone's life collapse under the weight of their own actions. Ellen found me there at 3 a.m. Couldn't sleep either. Tomorrow, she said. Tomorrow, I agreed. Are you ready? Yes. Good. She took my hand. Because we're ending this. Whatever happens in that courtroom, we're ending this. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Windowless, fluorescent lit, with wooden benches worn smooth by decades of people waiting for justice or mercy, or just an end to their particular nightmare. We arrived early, Maya's instruction, establishing presence and composure. Darren arrived 10 minutes before the hearing, looking like he'd slept in his suit. His lawyer, Gordon Reese, looked polished and expensive and already defeated, the expression of someone who'd reviewed the evidence and knew they were fighting a losing battle. Patricia wasn't there. She'd testified in her deposition and had no legal obligation to appear. Her absence spoke volumes about her choice, about where her loyalties ultimately lay. The judge entered at precisely 9 a.m. The Honorable Margaret Chen, 63 years old, with a reputation for being fair, but no nonsense. This is a hearing on the petition for divorce filed by Jenna Kellner, née Fallon, against Darren Kellner, with related motions regarding custody, asset division, alimony, and compensation for psychological harm. Let's proceed. Maya stood, presenting our case with clinical precision. The timeline of the marriage, the pattern of manipulation, the theft of the car through fraudulent paperwork, the threats, the violations of the restraining order, the terminated employment. She played the recording of Darren admitting to fraud. The courtroom listened in silence as his voice filled the space. I forged Jenna's signature on those transfer papers. I did it right in front of my mother. She watched me do it. Judge Chen made notes. Maya presented Patricia's testimony next, her deposition read into the record. Patricia describing how Darren had manipulated the car purchase, how he'd pressured Jenna, how he'd threatened the family. Darren's lawyer tried to object, claiming bias. Maya produced the signed agreement, the voluntary nature of Patricia's testimony, the corroborating evidence. The custody evaluator testified, explaining her findings, her recommendation for primary custody with Jenna. The process took 3 hours. Methodical. Devastating. Then it was Darren's turn. Gordon Reese did his best. He painted Darren as a man who'd made mistakes but who loved his son, who deserved a chance to rebuild. He tried to discredit the recordings. Judge Chen shut that down immediately. The recordings are clear and unambiguous. They were legally obtained. Move on, counselor. He tried to claim Jenna was being manipulated by her parents. Maya destroyed that argument by presenting evidence of Jenna's independence, her employment, her consistent statements. He tried to claim the car theft was a misunderstanding. Maya played the recording of Darren explicitly admitting to forging the signature. By the time Reese finished, even he looked exhausted. Mr. Kellner, do you wish to testify on your own behalf? Judge Chen asked. Darren stood. Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, I've been set up. Everything you've heard today is part of a coordinated attack by my ex-wife's family. They hate me because I'm successful. Silius Fallon is a bitter man who works in a subway tunnel and resents anyone who achieved more than he did. Do you deny forging your wife's signature on the car title transfer? The situation was more complicated than... Mr. Kellner, it's a yes or no question. Did you forge her signature? Silence. Darren looked at his lawyer. I may have signed some paperwork on her behalf, but she knew about it. She agreed to it. That contradicts your own statement in the recording, where you explicitly stated you forged her signature without her knowledge. I was angry when I said that. I was being threatened. Were you lying then, or are you lying now? More silence. Judge Chen made notes. Anything else, Mr. Kellner? They're trying to take my son away from me. I'm his father. I have rights. Rights that must be exercised responsibly and legally. You violated a restraining order. You were arrested. You made documented threats. You committed fraud. These are not the actions of someone demonstrating parental fitness. Darren's composure cracked. This is wrong. You don't understand what they've done to me. They destroyed my career. They turned my own mother against me. Mr. Kellner, I suggest you compose yourself, or I'll hold you in contempt. He sat down, breathing hard, his face red. Judge Chen reviewed her notes. The courtroom was silent except for the hum of the ventilation system. Finally, she looked up. I'm prepared to rule. I've reviewed all the evidence. This is one of the clearer cases of marital misconduct I've encountered. Darren started to speak. His lawyer silenced him. Mr. Kellner, you committed fraud by forging your wife's signature. You stole property purchased by your in-laws. You made explicit threats. You violated a restraining order. You lost your employment due to conduct issues. You demonstrated a pattern of manipulation and instability. Judge Chen looked directly at Darren. Your own mother testified against you. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. She turned to her written ruling. The divorce is granted immediately. Jenna squeezed my hand. Regarding the vehicle, the title transfer was obtained through fraud and is void. The vehicle is returned to Jenna Fallon's sole ownership. Regarding custody of Leo Kellner, I am awarding primary custody to Jenna Fallon. Darren Kellner is granted supervised visitation only, 2 hours per week. This will continue for 6 months minimum. Regarding alimony, I am ordering Darren Kellner to pay spousal support of $1,000 per month for 3 years, beginning when he secures employment. Regarding compensation for psychological harm, I am ordering Darren Kellner to pay Jenna Fallon $25,000 in compensatory damages, payable in installments of $500 per month. Finally, I am extending the restraining order indefinitely. Any violation will result in immediate arrest. Judge Chen closed her folder. Additionally, I am forwarding documentation of the admitted fraud to the district attorney's office for potential criminal prosecution. Darren exploded out of his chair. No, this is not fair. This is not justice. You're letting them destroy me. This is corruption. Mr. Kellner, sit down immediately. He didn't sit. He turned on Jenna, his face twisted with rage. This is your fault. You and your pathetic father. You destroyed me. I gave you everything, and this is how you repay me? Bailiff, Judge Chen said calmly. 2 court officers moved toward Darren. I'm going to appeal this. You haven't won. You hear me, Jenna? The bailiffs reached him. He tried to pull away. My own mother betrayed me, but this isn't over. I'll make sure you regret this. They escorted him from the courtroom, his voice echoing down the hallway, fading as the doors closed. Judge Chen looked at Jenna. Ms. Fallon, if Mr. Kellner attempts any contact, report it immediately. You're free to go. In the hallway, Jenna turned to me. Tears streamed down her face, but she was smiling. Dad, you saved us. I placed a steady hand on hers, looking through the courthouse window where I could see Darren being led away, still shouting, still refusing to accept what he'd brought upon himself. No, sweetheart, I said quietly. He destroyed himself. I just made sure everyone saw it.